If you sell how you want to be sold to, you will stay broke. Let me repeat that again. If you sell how you want to be sold to, you will stay broke. I know that it's different, but it's the one truth that changed everything for me and the women that I advise since. My name is Gabby, and I'm a sales advisor for women solopreneurs. I've closed 10K in 23 minutes. I've kept a 90% close rate since 2023, and I closed nothing less than four-figure contracts. I'm going to show you how to sell by chat without being pushy, salesy, or doing anything that you feel like you need to take a shower afterwards. This isn't another guru training that you found for $17 or a free YouTube video that's giving out outdated tactics that will never work for you. This is understanding how buyers actually think and having a conversation that leads to a decision. This is the sell by chat method. And let me be very clear here. If you can't confidently sell your service, no tool, no script, no shortcut will ever be able to fix that. Okay, so let me take a lucky guess. You love the idea of selling by chat, but in reality, you're getting left on red by buyers who seem ready to move until they just randomly ghosted you. You're dropping every detail about your offer, hoping they'll get the value and end up just overwhelming them. Even when they reach out first, you're still facing these constant objections. You are discounting, bending your boundaries, and exhausting yourself trying to prove that you're actually worth that price. Let's call it what it is. Right now, it feels hard to show the true value of your offer. And if they don't feel the value, they simply don't buy. What if I told you 95% of buying decisions happen subconsciously? And the way you're using DMs right now is costing you thousands. No psychology means no conversion. And if none of that resonates with you, no worries. But even if one of those hit home, stay with me because what I'm about to show you is going to change how you see every DM conversation from this point forward. Be honest, how many times have you had a great conversation in the DMs? She's interested, she's engaged, she's asking questions, and then you say, let's hop on a call, and she just randomly disappears? That's not a coincidence. And it's not because she wasn't interested, she was ready. And then you sent her somewhere else to make a decision she was about to make in the DMs. The call doesn't build more trust, it adds friction. Now she has to find a time, block out an hour, get camera ready, perform for a stranger, and turn this conversation that felt natural into a literal interview. Here's what nobody wants to say out loud. The call isn't closing for you either. You are booking calls and still hearing, let me think about it at the end. You're spending an hour on Zoom with someone who already decided it was a no, before the call even started. You're trading your time for this wishful thinking, right? And so the real cost is every call you book is a conversation you could have closed in the DMs in a fraction of the time. The industry told you that high ticket requires a call, that people won't pay you thousands without seeing your face, that you need 30 minutes to build enough trust, then close them. If you cut out the tire kickers and the maybe laters for the people that are ready to move today, not months down the line, your close rate can double in less than 4 weeks. So if the call isn't the answer, what is? Selling by chat. And before you think that means being in your DMs all day, copy and pasting scripts and sliding into people's inbox like that random insurance lady, that's not what this is. Selling by chat means having a real conversation that leads to a real decision without the camera or mic being turned on. This is you getting paid before any calls. Selling by chat really gives you the speed that allows you to shrink your sales cycle from weeks to days. The conversation is happening right now, not Thursday or next Monday at 3 p.m. Sell by chat gives you control. You think before you ever respond. No one sees you pause or sweat through a random objection that you didn't expect. You just show up regulated and confident every single time. Sell by chat gives you freedom. You can close from anywhere, your couch, a coffee shop, a train, on a plane. Like, no Zoom link is required here. The buyer is already there. She's in your DMs. She followed you. She's binging your content. Why are you sending her somewhere else to decide? The reason selling by chat doesn't feel icky when it's done right is because it's a conversation, not a presentation. You're not performing, you're not copy and pasting, you're just talking, like a human. Really simple. And that's why it converts. If it feels icky, you're just doing it wrong. That's the gap, and that's what we're going to fix. Here's what I see over and over again. A woman founder has a great conversation in her DMs. The buyer is totally engaged. She thinks it's going somewhere, and then the buyer actually says yes, and she fumbles the close because she didn't have a plan for it. She really didn't think that she was actually going to close them. Or the buyer says no, and the conversation just dies out because she didn't have any idea what her next move should be. Like, no clue. How can I close this person regardless? So, the biggest mistake isn't saying the wrong thing, it's not having a plan for what happens next in every scenario. Whether they say yes, no, maybe, not now, not yet, you need a move for all of it. That's not being pushy, that's actually being very prepared and really allowing you to take control of your sales. The first step to leveraging DMs as a real sales strategy is knowing exactly where every lead is going before the conversation even starts. No matter what, you need to know, where is this person going? Where do I want this person to go despite their answer, whether it's a yes, no, or maybe? If you're in your DMs every day having conversations and nothing is converting, it's most likely not your offer, it's not your content, and it's not that people don't even want what you have. It's that you're nurturing in a sales conversation instead of selling. And those are two completely different things. Nurturing gets engagement, selling gets decisions, selling gets you paid. Okay? Nurturing says, here's what I know. Selling says, here's what you're losing by not acting, right? Most women I advise are incredible at nurturing. Their audience is engaged. People are in their DMs all the time saying, hey, I love your content. And then nothing. No sale, just another nice conversation that goes nowhere. Because nurturing in the DMs is not selling. And if all you're doing is adding value on top of value on top of value, you're just running a free advice column, not a business, right? You're not selling. It's no sales coming in. Your content should really do the nurturing before they DM you. By the time they're in your inbox, they already trust you, right? They're ready. And now they need to be led, not nurtured and befriended, right? It's time to lead. Selling by chat is leading a conversation to a decision, not hoping it gets there on its own. So I know you're thinking, like, okay, so how do I lead a conversation if every buyer is different? Remember what I said at the beginning. If you sell how you want to be sold to, you will stay broke, right? And here's why. You're only speaking to one type of buyer, your type. That's 25% at best of your audience. The other 75%, you're losing them and you don't even know it, right? There are 4 buyer types. Each one shows up differently in the DMs and they make decisions completely different. The first one is the driver buyer. The driver is a person that is all about speed, efficiency. She is fast, super direct, already know what she wants. In the DM, she sends short messages. She likes to get to the point really quick, like speed it up. If you send a driver buyer a 4-paragraph message explaining your process, she will leave you on red, period. She didn't ghost you because she wasn't interested. She left because you are wasting her time. Imagine like she DMs you about your service and she says, what's the price and when can we start? If your response is a long explanation of what you can do for her, like, very meticulous answer, you just lost her. A driver buyer needs to know the result, the price, the next step. That's it. Get to the point. I need efficiency. Okay. With the expressive buyer, she is emotional, buys from that identity, that freedom, that vision, that future. Energetic, uses a lot of emojis. She does want to feel a connection before she buys. In the DMs, she really shows up warm and friendly, and definitely want to know a little bit about your story. So if you lead with, hey, you know, this is the data, this is my process, one, two, three, she will roll her eyes, side eye you. And so she is the person that's going to buy because she sees herself in you and your offer. So if she reaches out and says, hey, I really love your energy, I've been following you for a while, XYZ, right? If your response is all about what she gets in the offer, like the deliverables, you just killed the vibe. She needs to feel like the offer was made for her, made for someone exactly like her. So speak to who she will become, not what she will actually get out of it. Next up is the analytical buyer. They are very detailed, logical, all about the facts, the process, the system, the method, the strategy. She will ask very detailed questions, wants to understand the method before she trusts you, period. She wants to know, what is the method? How is this predictable? How can I really get something out of it? What's the return on investment? If you rush an analytical buyer, she will pull back, not because she doesn't want what you have, because she just literally doesn't trust you and she doesn't trust it. And so if she reaches out and asks about your process, if your response is just like, trust me, this worked for blase, blase, XYZ, ABC, she's out completely. Show her the logic and she will literally just sell herself. They are the type of buyers that will most likely not even reach out if you have your profile set up properly. The last one is the amiable buyer. This buyer is very careful, very doesn't want to feel any type of pressure. She's warm, she's cozy, like that type of vibe. And she will normally say, hey, this sounds great, but won't commit, won't follow through. So you don't ever want to push it amiable because they will just completely shut down. They will need their space and their time. They want to have that freedom to say no. So if they, tend to reach out and say, hey, I'm interested, but I'm not sure. If your response is like, well, I have 5 spots left and, well, the sale is ending in 24 hours, she's gone. It needs to feel completely safe. Ironically, giving her permission to say no ahead of time is what most likely will get her to say yes later on. And be mindful that an amiable buyer will take their time. So every conversation that dies in your DMs isn't actually a bad lead, it's just a misread buyer, right? The conversation itself didn't fail. The approach that you use didn't match that buyer. And that mismatch is what's costing you thousands every single month. Now you know the 4 buyer types. You know how to read them. Let's talk about why they still say no, even when they want to say yes. Every buying decision runs through 5 values. Address all 5 in your DMs, and you can obliterate objections. They just won't come up because you already answered every question in their brain that they were going to ask. If you miss even one of these, that's exactly where the objection lives, where that objection was birthed from, per se. The first value is time. Her brain is asking, how long will this take? How fast will I see results? If you miss this, you most likely will hear, I need to think about it. But she's not thinking about it, she's delaying. Delay creates doubt, and doubt kills sales. And so if she's delaying, it's because you gave her no reason to decide now. Example of this will be if you're selling a branding package and she asks, how long does this take? And you say, well, it depends on your business, your offer, blah, blah, blah. You just lost her. She needed a clear timeline. Instead, you would say, most of my clients have their brand live within 2 weeks. You see the difference there? That's time handled. That's urgency without pressuring her. The next one is money, of course. We all know money is the key here in regards to sales, and people really don't want to give up their money for no reason, right? So her brain is asking, is this worth it? What's my return on investment here? If you miss this, you tend to hear, that's not in my budget. I can't really afford this right now. She's not broke. She's just saying you haven't made the return on investment clear. So example is, let's just say you were a copywriter charging $3,000 and she says it's too much. It's because you didn't show her the math, right? The math isn't mathing. So you would say instead, my last client sales page generated $15,000 in the first month. Now that $3,000 sounds like a steal, right? Making that inaction more expensive than the actual action that she needs to take. Next up is status. And I think a lot of people miss this or just never really put it together of it being such a value. It's when her brain is asking, is this for someone like me, right? Is it for me? You miss this and you often will hear, I'm not sure this will work for me, or my niche is different. I don't think that'll work. So she's not rejecting your offer. She just can't see herself in that result that you say you are providing. Example, if you are a business strategist and she says, I'm not sure this applies to my industry. I haven't seen anyone do this. It's really because you haven't mirrored her situation back to her. You could say, I just worked with a photographer who had the exact same challenge. Or, I just work with a photographer that is based in this location. Now she's able to see herself. Now she's able to see herself win, and that's what she needs. Effort. A lot of people miss this as well when it comes to sales. And this effort value, her brain is asking, how hard is this? Is this going to overwhelm me? Is this going to exhaust me despite what I already have going on in my business day to day, right? Miss this and you most likely will hear, can you send me more info? Let me look into it. She's not looking into it. She's just overwhelmed, right? It's just too much friction. So if after a great conversation you say, I'll send over a proposal and a contract and we can schedule an onboarding call, then our kickoff call, that's 3 or 4 steps too many, So you can say instead, I have Wednesday at 3 p.m. or Friday at 1 p.m., which works best, right? Use that option close. Make it a quick decision. Remove every ounce of friction for you to close them. The last one is risk. Again, another value that a lot of people miss in their sales is when her brain is asking, what if this doesn't actually work? Can I even trust this person? You miss this, you will hear, do you have testimonials? Do you have a portfolio? Right? We're looking for that proof, that credibility. And let's just be real. She's not being difficult. She's just scared. And the fact is that if she even had to ask about it, it means you didn't give her proof early enough, right? In that conversation, in your profile, in your marketing. So let's just say you were a designer and you wait until she asks to see your work. You're already behind. Like, you just pack it up. Like, you have to weave that proof inside that conversation so you can avoid missing this value and getting another objection. You could just say, I just wrapped a project like this last week. I was in this, location last month. You want to really drop that inside the conversation to remove all risk. 5 values, 5 objections. Every objection you've never heard maps to a value you didn't address early on. You didn't address early enough. The objection isn't the problem, it's actually the symptom. And that's the gap that you're having in these conversations that causes these objections. So if you're able to address all 5 before her brain even asks, she will just say yes. We've talked a lot, but how do you have a conversation that covers buyer psychology, addresses all 5 values, handles any response, and still feels like you're just talking? This is the 3 E's. This is what powers the sell by chat method. The first E is empower. This is where the conversation starts. You ask questions that let the buyer tell you their goals, their values, what's in their way in their own words. So you're not sending a link. You're not sending the link to your link in bio. You're not pitching. You're not giving her a freebie. You're letting her own it, letting her own what she is experiencing, right? Giving her agency. Here's the psychology. When she says it, she believes it. When you say it, it's a pitch, right? Same information, but different outcome. For example, let's say you are a brand strategist. Instead of telling her your brand isn't positioned right, you ask, what's been the biggest challenge in attracting the clients you actually want for your brand? She tells you the problem herself. Now she owns it. And everything you say next is a response to what she told you. So it's not a random pitch that comes out of nowhere. Next up is embody, the second E. This is where you mirror her truth back to her. You want to affirm her experience and anchor your authority. Really embody who you say you are. You take everything she told you and empower and reflect it through embody. She said her problem, she said her goal, she said how long it's been going on. You play it back to her. And you're going to say, does that sound right? Because when she says yes, it's because of her hearing her own words back to her, right? She gave you permission to go deeper. You didn't assume, you listened. And that's how trust is earned in that conversation. And then you anchor your authority, not by bragging, just by giving her facts, what you've done, what your clients have experienced, just stating the facts simply. And for example, if you are a web designer, it sounds like I've built sites that generated 20K in the first quarter. The difference wasn't the design, it was the strategy behind it. Now she trusts that expertise, right? Because you stated it, you didn't sell it, you just stated the facts. Then you present the cost of an action, not guilt tripping her, right? Just doing the math. If this has been going on for 6 months, how much revenue do you think you've left on the table? Let her do the math. It's more powerful when she calculates it herself. When she adds up the dollars and the cents herself, it's more impactful and powerful. The third E is expand. This is where you stretch her vision and make the next step feel inevitable. Like this is going to happen regardless, okay? So you're not asking if she wants help, you're telling her what you see and what you will recommend because that is what an expert does. Let's say you are a photographer and a potential client has been going back and forth with you in the DMs for a week. She likes your work, but hasn't really committed, hasn't really clicked the link. Instead of sending her another portfolio or dropping your price just randomly, you want to expand. You could just say, hey, from what you've shared already, you know that photos will elevate your brand. The only thing that's left is getting them done. I have next Thursday or the following Monday open. Which works best for you, right? So it's not you pitching. It's not presented as a pitch. It's not pressure. You just took that information that she told you across the entire conversation and made that next step feel like the obvious one. So she feels more guided than sold to. That's the difference between nurturing and closing. Empower, embody, expand. 3 stages in every conversation. When all 3 are hit, all 5 values are addressed. Her buyer type is matched, and the close isn't something that you push for, it's something that she actually asks for. If you're thinking that this is exactly what's been missing in your sales process, let me tell you what I actually do. I run a sales advisory for women solopreneurs who are in conversations that don't convert. You have an offer, you have leads, you show up consistently, but somewhere in between, I'm interested and send me the link to pay is where the sales are lost. I revamp how you sell with buyer psychology and human behavior. If that's something you'd like to explore, the first step is to take my DM Sales Diagnostic quiz. You need to know right off the bat where your sales are leaking because you will never be able to fix what you can't see. This 3-minute diagnostic will show you your closing score, your gaps, even tell you where your revenue is leaking every single month. And this amount of clarity is how you leverage your DMs. Every single day you sell without knowing where your sales are leaking is a day where you're simply leaving thousands on the table. And that money just doesn't sit there waiting for you to figure it out. This masterclass gave you the method, the diagnostic will give you the data. Together, they will give you a clear picture on what needs to shift in your sales without even hiring me. If you're serious about closing more sales, tap the link to take the diagnostic.